Welcome back. Teacher burnout is a phenomenon taking its toll on the dedicated men and women who shape the future of our students. Our next guests have made it their mission to address this challenge head on with their new book, Educating with Passion and Purpose. Keep the fire going without burning out. Joining us to tell us more is the founder and CEO of Boogie Down Books, Rebekah Shoaf, and New York City principal and author, Meredith Matson. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, just to start off, can you both tell me a little bit more about your background as educators and what led you to write this book?
Sure. So I started as a high school English teacher in New York City public schools in 2003. And after about 10 years in the classroom as a classroom teacher, Meredith and I had the opportunity together to be lead teachers at our school, which meant that we taught about half of what a regular teaching load was. And we used the rest of our time to mentor new teachers, coach our colleagues, and lead professional development for the entire faculty every Wednesday. And it was a really, really amazing experience for both of us. We had both been teachers for about 10 years, but believe it or not, we were actually veterans at our school at that point. And we felt like through this experience of teacher leadership, we were really learning a lot about how to avoid burnout, which so many teachers experience, and how to address it even when it does start to creep in. And so we had this idea for the book. But other things happened. Life got in the way. We both pursued other professional opportunities. And it wasn't until the pandemic, actually, when we finally had the time to start writing the book. Meredith, do you want to tell the rest of the story?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, as Rebecca said, all of a sudden we had found ourselves in this weird situation where we had time. And so what we started to do was Zoom once a week, and we would just kind of give ourselves different topics that we would want to talk about, write about. And what we realized was the process that we were going through actually was quite in many ways therapeutic for both of us as educators, and it really gave us this sense for this book. And we realized that as our stories were being told and as we were reflecting on our stories, we felt like this could be such a powerful thing for educators everywhere, which led us to really formulating all of our thoughts and ideas into this book about reducing teacher burnout and really trying to help teachers and educators connect to their why, their purpose, why they get into this work every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rebecca, can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to focus on the theme of purpose and passion in education?
Absolutely. So when Meredith and I started writing the book, we thought that we were writing a book more strictly about burnout. But while we were engaging in this process, as Meredith was explaining, of reflecting on our own experiences of burnout and the experiences that we've had coaching and leading other teachers who have been experiencing burnout, we started to realize that actually we weren't really writing about burnout itself. We were writing about purpose. And we were writing about how to help educators connect to, and in some cases, reconnect to the reason why they became educators in the first place. And what we uncovered is that for many teachers, burnout starts to set in when there's a misalignment between their purpose, their why, the reason why they wanted to be educators initially, and their reality, what they're experiencing right now. And so, the key, or one key to avoiding burnout or addressing it once it sets in, is really connecting to purpose and using that purpose as a litmus test for decision making to ensure that your actions, your experiences, and your reality really are aligned with your purpose.
I think that's amazing, and I think that's a great way to, in a way, find that silver lining within all of this. So, specifically, finding your passion, even though you are in this phase of burnout. So, with that, Meredith, I want to ask you, in the press release, it mentions that your book aims to help educators stay engaged with their purpose. So, could you elaborate on how educators can maintain that sense of purpose, amid the challenges they face?
Yeah, so what we really believe is that teachers and educators need to have a very clear understanding of why they're in this work and then think about ways to integrate that why into as many aspects of the job. So, for an example, we have a whole chapter in the book about curriculum and what we teach, and we also have
I can jump in here. So each chapter of the book has a different focus.
Hmm.
And as Meredith was saying, one of those chapters is curriculum. We also have a chapter on instruction. We have one on being the lead learner. We have one on forming a network or a community, and also finding your professional home. And in each of those chapters, we take the reader through each of our personal stories with our experiences around that topic. And then we have a set of prompts and activities and reflective exercises for the reader to use to think about how their purpose aligns with that topic, or how that topic connects to their purpose, the kinds of decisions, the kinds of actions, the kinds of conversations, the kinds of reflective work, and sometimes the difficult decisions that they might need to make in order to bring their reality into alignment with their purpose. Additionally, we have a section at the end of each chapter that's especially for leaders who are supporting teachers through professional development, as supervisors, as principals, or school leaders, or district leaders, and the kinds of things that they can do to help support teachers to reconnect to their purpose and their passion, and avoid or address burnout as well.
I think that's such a cool thing to have within the book. You're not just reading, it's not like it's just a self help book, but it really is personalized with these prompts and these activities. So I think that's such a great thing to add. And you spoke a little bit about the different concepts in the different chapters within the book. So with that, Meredith, I want to ask you, the book addresses things like race, privilege, and well being. So why did you feel that it was so important to include these different aspects in the discussion of educating with passion and purpose?
So I think it is so essential that educators are very self-reflective on their own identity and how their own identity impacts them as educators and impacts their students. And especially, I am a white woman and I've been leading a school in New York City with a very, very diverse community background. And it's so important that my community is that their identity is truly uplifted within the classes within the school that I teach at. And so when you're working through as an educator, what is your passion? What's your purpose? We have to think about the students that are in front of us, and we have to make sure that that truly aligns with what you're working on, because we owe it to our students to make sure that they are the forefront of the classroom. And so we really talk about that in the book very explicitly, and we talk about, again, different prompts for educators to think through to make sure that they have an equity stance when they're working with their students, because their students deserve the very best educators out there for them, that are there to advocate for their thinking within the classroom.
That's amazing. And lastly, I want to ask the both of you, what do you hope readers will take away from your book, and how do you envision it making a positive impact on the teaching profession?
I could say I really hope that educators are able to deeply connect to their own personal stories. In the book, Rebekah and I both are very vulnerable and tell our stories, but like Rebekah said, there are prompts throughout the book. And I hope that educators are able to use those prompts and ask themselves and make sure that they're in a space and a place and that they're teaching really deeply connected to why they're doing it, because I truly believe that education is one of the most difficult jobs out there, but that we have to really show up every single day for our students. And so in order to do that, and to do that well, and to do it with just as much commitment as possible, we got to make sure that we are aligned with why we're doing this. And I think that's some of the best self-help that there is, and that educators can truly do for themselves.
And I would just add, we really want to help support educators to stay in the profession in a sustainable way. We know that there are so many systemic and structural issues that create conditions that are really untenable for teachers throughout much of this country. And there are institutional and labor organizations that are working to change those structural issues that desperately need change. In the meantime, there are teachers in schools doing, as Meredith said, the hardest work, the most important work in our society right now. And they need support right now. And so our hope is that this book will help educators who may be experiencing burnout or may not be experiencing burnout, but might in the future if they don't have a pathway to do the work in a sustainable manner. And so our hope is that the book doesn't just provide sort of immediate reflective experiences, although we know that that will be the case too, but rather that there are some practices that will help with mindset shifts and decision making that can create long-term change for individual educators and individual school communities that will allow educators to do the work that they love, that they feel called to do in a sustainable long-term way so that students can have experienced, passionate, and purposeful teachers in front of them every day.
This is going to be such a great tool. Thank you both for coming on here and discussing this with us.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so much
us.
for having
For more information, you can visit the website at beatingteacherburnout.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.